All right, welcome to step 2 of our growth track, Discover Your Design. As I did at the beginning of session 1 with Connect to Our Church, let me remind you that if you're viewing the wrong session, if you haven't done step 1, you can go back and view that session on our website at sojourncity.com at your convenience. One thing I did fail to mention at the end of step 1's session that I recorded yesterday evening, and you may be watching archived on our website right now, is the follow-up card that I made reference to multiple times in that session. I did not go back at the end of the session and tell you what to do with it. My apologies for that. I'll try to do better with the step 2 card at the end of session 2. So I'm going to show it to you here on the screen. Step 1 card, you have your name and your contact information that you're comfortable sharing with us. And then at the bottom of the sheet there, after you've gone through the video session and filled in all the blanks in the step 1 packet, there are 2 choices at the bottom of that step 1 card: that you're interested in joining Sojourn City Church as a member, but you want to learn more, or you can mark that you're ready to dive in, you're ready to join Sojourn City Church, and that you have committed your life to Jesus Christ and trust Him for your salvation. You commit to the Sojourn City Church membership covenant that we covered at the end of session 1, and then I support the Sojourn City Church statement of faith. That is not included in the packet on our website, but if you would like to view the statement of faith, I'll remind you once more that you can request that at the Contact Us tab on the homepage of our website. We'll send that to you as soon as we possibly can. You print your name, sign that step 1 card. You can scan that and email it to the administrative team coordinator on our lead team at Sojourn City Church. That's Kelly. Her email address is Kelly, Kelli, at sojourncity.com. Again, that's Kelly with an I at sojourncity.com. You'll email all the follow-up cards to every session of Growth Track to that email address, and she will follow up with you from there. All right. With that being said, we're ready to dive into the content of step 2. I'll also remind you that we are recording this session right now, and it's possible that a participant or 2 will jump on in the next few minutes, and we'll try to catch them up to speed. We're offering this session live this evening, and then once it's recorded and saved, we'll archive it to our website next week so you can view it from there and possibly complete all 4 steps of Growth Track in a single week. It's up to you. All right. Step 2, discover your design. You'll notice on the front page of that packet the same Bible verse that you saw at the very, very beginning of session 1. I described the reason why that's the case, and I'll remind you again here that this is a direct quote from Jesus. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. One of the main reasons Jesus came to earth was to offer us the opportunity to escape our old lives of sin and step into new life in this world, on this side of eternity, in our relationship with Him, our walk with Him. Our journey of faith should lead us into our purpose in life, our calling in life, and help us live a life of meaning and purpose and significance. I won't go any further into that. If you want more details on that, go back to that session 1 statement about it, and we'll cover it in more detail there. Page 2 is, again, that summary of the breakdown of Growth Track. Each step, when we offer it in our Sunday service environment, and what it's for. I'll focus primarily on the step 2 section here this evening, step 2, that says dive into the details of your personality, discover your gifts, and see how your design reveals your purpose in life and your best fit in ministry. Again, we'll talk tonight about why it's so important that you not only discover your purpose, but how it shows you your best fit in ministry in the body of Christ, the family of God, the local church. Step 2 takes place the second Sunday of every month. We offer step 1 through 4 of Growth Track the first 4 Sundays of every month. After our Sunday service, usually we meet in my office. We have light refreshments, childcare is provided, and if you can attend any or all of our Growth Track steps live and in person, we encourage you to do so because it's more interactive, and you can ask questions and get an even fuller experience with the Growth Track process as you begin the process of discovering your purpose in Christ. Go on to page 3 now, if you will, where it says discovering your gifts. Right away, we're getting into the heart of step 2, discovering your design. Specifically, we want to help you discover your gifts. What does that mean? You'll see a reference there at the top of page 3 from Ephesians chapter 4, where the Apostle Paul was writing to the church in the first century city of Ephesus, and he said, now these are the gifts Christ gave to the church: the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, and the pastors and teachers. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do His work and build up the church, the body of Christ. So you see the idea of myself as a pastor or someone else who serves as a teacher or an evangelist and so on. Their responsibility is not to do all the work of the ministry. In fact, if the people who are called into the quote unquote the ministry vocational full-time ministry, if we try to do all the ministry ourselves, then actually the impact of the local church caps out at what, say, I myself am able to accomplish. But we can accomplish so much more for the glory of God and for the good of people who need to know God themselves and find freedom, discover purpose, and make a difference if we help each other discover our own purposes, our own spiritual gifts, and begin to operate in those gifts, fulfill those callings for God's glory and for the good of other people. So let's talk about the framework for discovering your purpose. Where does this whole concept really begin? And this is where we get into our fill in the blanks. You're welcome to fill these out. Let me pause here. And if you need to pause the recording right now, you're welcome to do that. If you don't have a copy of this packet that is fillable, that you have downloaded on your own device, your own computer, or if you haven't printed them from online where you can fill them out by hand, we do want you to have a copy of these packets for your records. And so if you don't have one of those, if you don't have a copy of the follow-up card for step 2, pause the recording right now, go to sojourncity.com, look for our resources tab on the menu link, and you can download fillable documents for the packet and the follow-up card. You can also print those out and fill them out by hand. So again, if you need to pause right here and do that, that's fine. Just pick back up in just a moment. Let's dive in here. The framework for discovering your purpose begins with this first step. We want to look at my gifts and passions. My gifts and passions. What are you good at? What do you get really excited about? How do those things, how could they possibly help you make a difference in somebody else's life for Jesus? My gifts and passions. Number 2, my life experience. What's your story? How has God brought you? How has he ordered your steps from your most distant memory in the past to where you are right now? How have you seen God's faithfulness? How have you seen him developing and fostering abilities and potentials and possibilities for your future in the story of your life to date? And number 3, my pain. Not just what you're good at, not just what you're passionate about, not just your story in general, but specifically my pain. Unfortunately, we live in a broken world, and so we all experience those valleys of life. Maybe it's sickness, maybe it's sorrow, maybe it's broken relationships, maybe it's disappointment to the extreme degree, could be tragedy of any sort. But whatever has caused us pain in life, God can redeem it if we'll surrender it to him. And he can actually chart a course for us and show us how God can use us through the area of our pain to minister to somebody else who has experienced or is experiencing that same kind of hurt. So my gifts and passions, my life experience, my pain, those will frame up our discussion, our conversation through the rest of this session, because we believe that as we discover more of your design, it can actually begin to reveal your destiny, your purpose in life, your calling in Jesus. Because we look at Psalm 139 where the psalmist wrote, you God, you made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. With that verse in mind, we want to do 3 things in looking at your design and helping it reveal your God-given destiny. Number 1, discover my gifts. Maybe you do know what you're good at, and maybe you do have a good idea of how that could make a difference for Jesus in somebody else's life. Maybe not. Maybe you don't have any idea what you're good at. Maybe you feel like you're not good at anything that's important. We want to help you discover those gifts and show you how they're important. Number 2, develop my gifts. It's not enough to know what your aptitudes are, what your potential is and where it lies. We want to help you take those possibilities and develop them. We want to help you grow and get better, gain experience, gain ability and confidence even for the glory of God and the good of other people. And then number 3, finally, use my gifts. What's the point of having a talent that you've developed if you're not going to share it, if you're not going to invest it into somebody else's well-being, somebody else's spiritual journey? So discover my gifts, develop my gifts, and ultimately use my gifts. This step of growth track is very much a vehicle to your next steps of faith. I want you to fill in this line at the bottom of page 3 where it says, my purpose is to, I want to be very clear right out of the gate that as we go into these next 2 phases of step 2 of growth track, one of which will be a very brief personality profile called the DISC profile assessment. You may have taken one of these before that's more in-depth and more detailed. This is a very straightforward, simple, concise assessment. But then also we'll look at a spiritual gifts assessment, which is more detailed. But ultimately, regardless of where you fall on the spectrum or the quadrants of personality profiles, regardless of which of the biblically based spiritual gifts we have listed for you in this packet, my purpose is to, your purpose is to, check this out, write this down, serve God by serving others. That's the heart of this. The reason that discovering your purpose is so important, the reason that discovering how your God-given design reveals more of your destiny, more of your purpose, is because our lives will ultimately make sense. We'll have the clearest vision for our futures in Christ once we realize that our whole life on this earth is about serving God by serving others. Let's keep going. Look at page 4. Again, I mentioned that we're going to look at this very brief DISC profile. It is a personality profile assessment. It will give us more insight into how God has hardwired you to interact with people and to interact with the world around you. So you'll look at the blanks there. You'll see at the very top of page 4, a blank. Number 1, the word total, T-O-T-A-L, and another blank, okay? In that blank, to the far top left of the page, write the letter D as in dog, D as in dog, okay? And you'll see 5 statements with numbers ranging out to the right, then another set of blank, the number 2, the word total, and another blank. In that second blank in the left column, beneath where you wrote D, go down to the next blank line beneath those set of statements, write the letter I as in ice. Same thing, go down to the next section, that next blank in the left column, and write the letter S as in snake. The very bottom, the left page, you have that blank there, write the letter C as in cat, so D-I-S-C. You see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 going down, do the kind of the middle of that section, and then 4 examples of the words total, and then you have those blanks there. Leave those blanks blank for now, because that's where you're going to write your total scores for each of these 4 sections. What I want you to do at this time is I want you to read each of the 5 statements in each of those sections, the D section, the I section, the S section, and the C section. Read those statements and then score yourself on the 1 to 5 range that you're given. 1 being that's never true of me, 2 that's rarely true of me, 3 that's sometimes true of me, 4 that's often true of me, or 5 that is always or almost always true of me. Take your first instinct. Let me encourage you with this. Don't overthink these statements, because often your gut instinct, your initial reaction, is the most accurate. All right. So what you're going to do right now is pause the recording. I'm going to finish explaining this section. I'm going to turn you loose. I'm going to wait a beat. I'm going to go on to the next page, page 5. Okay. You can take as long as you need to, but again, I encourage you, don't overthink it. Take your first reaction. What you're going to do is, once you have read each of the 5 statements in each of those 4 sections, once you have scored yourself for each of those 5 statements, each of those 4 sections, go back to each section and total up the numbers that you circled in the D section, in the I section, in the S section, and the C section. And in each section, once you have a total from those 5 statements, add it up and write that number in the blank. Okay, so you should see a D, number 1, the word total, and then you have a score for the D section in that last blank there to the right. Same for the I section, letter I, number 2, the word total, and a score of the total of your score for those statements in the I section. Same for the S, same for the C. And that will help us going on from here to page 5. Again, I'm going to wait a beat. You can pause the recording, take your time. When you're done, we'll go on and explain the results you've accumulated on page 4 once we get to page 5. Thanks. Now, once we get to page 6, I have missed a page. Let me go back to page 5. So sorry about that. Give me just a moment. There it is. All right, we'll just edit this part out of the video at a later time, right? All righty. Now we're on the real page 5. There we go. All right, page 5, you should see 4 blanks around a graphic near the middle of your page. That graphic is labeled D-I-S-C in 4 quadrants. All right, again, you just took the briefest version of the DISC profile that we could find. And here's what I want you to do. We're going to begin to categorize and explain the results that you accumulated on page 4. So in that blank at the very top middle of your page on page 5, write this word for me above the D and the I and the arrows pointing up toward that blank. Write the word extrovert, E-X-T-R-O-V-E-R-T, extrovert. And then if you want to move clockwise to the I-S and the arrows pointing to that blank, write the word people, P-E-O-P-L-E, people. Moving around clockwise again to the 6 o'clock position there, the blank beneath the S and the C and the arrows pointing down, write the word introvert, I-N-T-R-O-V-E-R-T. Find the last blank on that page, the DC with the arrows pointing to the left. That's the word task, T-A-S-K. What we want to show you with this basic graphic is that if you took the DISC profile, you should have one of those 4 sections that stood out above the others. It may not be drastic, it may be minimal, but still it's the top score. You may have 2 that tie together. Our goal is to get you to 2 or 1 or 2, of those sections that score higher than the others. And that points us in the right direction of where you might fall on this graphic. So for example, if the D section was your highest, then you have what we call a dominant personality. You're more extroverted. You're an outgoing, charismatic, magnetic personality who likes to meet new people and make new friends and connect and network. All right. I has some similarities, and we'll get to more specifics on that when we get to page 6. The people section, the I and the S, that simply means you're more relational than you are task oriented. You would rather connect with somebody than accomplish a task. And that's fine. God created us all differently. It takes all kinds to make a difference for him in this world. Go down to the introvert. Introverts they can still be people persons. They can still like people, but being with people can be more of a drain for them. It's more of a strain on them emotionally and mentally and physically. And so they do thrive when they can work on their own, when they can relax on their own. They do enjoy their solitude. All right. And then if you look at the task section, that DC, those people are more all business. They're very black and white, very concrete thinkers. And if you give them a to-do list, they can be very high achievers, but they really don't want to be bothered. They're the kind of folks that don't prefer group projects in school kind of thing. And there are some strengths to that and some limitations. We'll talk more about those as we get into page 6. What I want to show you on page 6, if you want to turn there with me, is you have a lot of detailed information about each of the potential breakdowns of your top 1 or your top 2 scores from your DISC profile. For example, the top of page 6, if the letter D was far out in front of all the others and there were no others, the I, S, or C didn't tie with that, your D was clearly number 1, then that would be the paragraph you would look at to determine what is the basic fundamental breakdown of my personality. If you're all D, then you're direct and decisive, a risk taker, a problem solver. You can see a detailed explanation from there. Let's say, for example, that you had a tie between your D score and your I score. Well, that's D/I. And you're a curious concluder who places emphasis on the bottom line and works hard to reach your goals, and so on. Go on from there. You want to try to get one score that's number 1, okay? And then you want to get potentially no more than another one that's tied. What do you do if you have 3 scores that are tied? Okay, then you still want to, excuse me, you want to look at the letters in order, right? So let's say your D, your I, and your S are all tied. Okay, you want to look at the D, the DI, the DS. You want to look at the ID, the IS, and so on. Every combination of your personality. What that means is you have kind of a divergent personality, that you have a lot of strengths, also some incumbent challenges and trade-offs with that, some disadvantages perhaps to your makeup that we can work with. But what I really want to point you to is not just the specific explanation of what your personality is. That can be very affirming. It will talk to you a lot about your strengths and how the way God has hardwired your personality is a good thing. But also, if you look near the end of most of these paragraphs, you'll see some bolded print. For example, the D/I near the top of page 6, you see the word Joshua, and in parentheses Joshua 1, Noah, in parentheses Genesis 6-9, Sarah, and in parentheses Genesis 16, and 1 Peter 3:6. These are characters, these are people in the Bible that we're told about. And these are, from what we can understand of their story in the Bible, they would fall into each of these personality categories. So again, a biblical reference for the way God has hardwired you to make a difference in the world. I hope you find that helpful, enlightening, and affirming. But let's keep going, all right? Once you get past page 6 and 7 and go on to page 8, let's talk about, once we now have a fuller picture of your personality, let's talk about making the most of your personality. For we are God's workmanship, Paul wrote in Ephesians chapter 2, created in Christ Jesus for good work. So each personality has strengths and challenges. What this page will do is show us how we can focus on learning to work well with others as members of a church family to do those good works in Christ Jesus. All right. So D personalities, they're dominant, they're direct, they're task oriented, decisive, organized, outgoing, and outspoken. These are all strengths. These are all wonderful things. But as we embrace those strengths, we also want to make sure to listen attentively to others, support other team members, invest in personal relationships, balance controlling and domineering tendencies, value the opinions, feelings, and desires of others. So again, some limitations to the personality based on those strengths, but we also see how we can learn to balance those things out and live in a rhythm of relationship with other people, even as we are charging ahead for the glory of God and accomplishing kingdom and eternal work that benefit other people. We don't want to be so task-oriented that we mow people down, so to speak, with our best of intentions. The I, similarly, is influential, witty, easygoing, outgoing, people-oriented. And as you embrace those strengths, make sure you're aware of tasks that need to be accomplished. The I personality, if that's your biggest strength, that's way out in front, you are the life of the party. You love the spotlight, not because you're a narcissist, but simply because that you love to add value to people and brighten up a room with positivity and enthusiasm and make it a celebration everywhere you go. It's wonderful, but also be aware that sometimes you have to bring the party down live in reality and get tasks accomplished. Balance your emotions, your words, and your actions. Don't get so big in your personality that you overstate things and add drama and dysfunction where you're trying to add life and enthusiasm. Remember to consider details and facts, not just feelings and big vision, big picture. Slow down your pace for others when necessary because not everybody can keep up with you all the time. Listen attentively to others instead of only talking. Choose thoughtful decision making over impulsive decision making. You see how these are practical opportunities to continue growing, developing our gifts so we can use our gifts more effectively for the glory of God and the good of other people. S personalities are steady, stable, analytical, introverted, people oriented. Those are all wonderful strengths, but also at the same time, make sure to take initiative, practice flexibility, approach confrontation constructively, be direct in your interactions when necessary, realize change can be healthy and be willing to adapt, and consider overall goals of your family or group, not just specific processes or procedures. S personalities can be not so much all business the way some D or C personalities can be, but they can be focused very heavily on the task, and they love to follow the rules. They love the playbook, they love the manual, they love the policies and procedures, and they think that those can become, the trade-off with those, they can become so enamored with the process in place that they can be inflexible and stubborn, and they can be limited in their ability to be innovative and collaborative with other people. So a lot of strength, but some trade-off. Got to be aware of those. C personalities are compliant, competent, task-oriented, goal-oriented, introverted. These are all strengths. As we embrace those strengths, make sure we are decisive when necessary, cultivate personal relationships, take time to smell the roses and enjoy the people around us, be open to others' ideas and methods, resist the urge to come across as a know-it-all, balance your focus between facts and people, focus on doing the right things, not just doing things right, and help others accomplish their goals. Think outside yourself and how you can serve other people. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions about this, we're moving fairly quickly because there's a lot of content in step 2, and we don't know how long each person who views this content later has taken for the personality profile. The spiritual gifts assessment, which we're moving into in a minute, is slightly longer. So we're trying to make the best use of your time and ours. But if you have questions about processing the results of your personality profile or your spiritual gifts assessment, which we'll get into in just a moment, then you can, again, email questions to us on the contact us link on our website. We'd be happy to help you process those with more specificity anytime you choose. Also, as you complete Growth Track and begin onboarding and training to become a member of our Dream Team as a full-fledged member of our church family, you can always approach your Dream Team leader and talk about those questions that you have about how your personality and your gifts can overlap to help you make a difference as part of our church family. Let's move on to page 9, where we're going to talk specifically about discovering your spiritual gifts. This is the part where the Holy Spirit comes into play and takes not only what God has deposited in us as potential in our personality based on the way he created us, but also as we come to know Jesus and live the faith life following Jesus on a daily basis, then the Holy Spirit begins to activate and develop spiritual gifts, supernatural abilities on the inside of us that help us be more effective in making a difference in other people's lives. And so what we're going to do is now, instead of doing 4 sets of 5 statements or 20 statements total, we're going to blow it up a little bit. The spiritual gifts assessment, we're going to have you read each of the following 72 statements and record your initial reaction in the space provided on the page following all 72 of those statements. Do not overthink this. Again, in general, your first response is the best. The good news is the statements are different, but the scale is pretty much the same. Number 1, read the statement and say, oh, that's almost never true of me. You're going to write down number 1. 2, that's seldom true of me. 3, that's sometimes true of me. 4, that's frequently true of me. 5, it's almost always true of me. You're going to read each statement 1 through 72 on page 9 and 10. And let me show you on page 11 before you begin how you're going to record these responses correctly. All right. I want you to notice at the top left of the page, you're going to see number 1 and a blank, and then beneath the number 1, the number 2. I don't want to oversimplify this or insult anyone's intelligence, but the way you score this is very important. So as you write down your answers to the statements you read on pages 9 and 10, look carefully at page 11. You're going to record your answers vertically by column. 1 through 24 is the first column. The middle column is 25 through 48. And the third column is 49 through 72. All right. So you're going to record your responses vertically by column. 1 going down to 2, going down to 3 on a range of 1 to 5. That's never true of me or almost always true of me. And then once you complete the statements, here's how you're going to score yourself. You may have already figured it out. All right. You're going to record your answers vertically by column. You're going to score your answers for each of the 24 possible spiritual gifts that we find in Scripture. You're going to score yourself across. All right. So number 1, number 25, number 49. Total up those three scores, write that on the total line next to that. Go down to 2, 26, and 50. Total up those three scores, write that total in the second blank. Move on down those 24 columns, score across the rows, and then what you're going to find is that each total matches up to another blank. The top blank total is next to the letter A, and the first blank in that column labeled gift. All right. So A corresponds to a spiritual gift listed in this packet. B corresponds to a spiritual gift listed in this packet, and so on, all the way through the letter X. So again, you're going to pause the recording just like you did with the disc profile. You're going to answer all 72 statements with a score of 1 through 5, going down the columns. Then you're going to score yourself across the rows, get 24 total, correspond to 24 spiritual gifts, A through X. And then you can go on to page 12, and we'll talk about using your spiritual gifts, explaining what each spiritual gift is, and then we'll go forward from there. All right. So again, pause your recording. I'll wait a beat before I go on. And once you've got your results, then we'll help you identify your top 1, 2, or 3 spiritual gifts. Go ahead. All right, coming back from pausing the recording, then look at page 12 where it says using your spiritual gifts. I want to congratulate you on discovering your spiritual gifts. God uniquely created you and gave you these gifts for a reason, to serve him by serving others. Now that you identified how he has gifted you, your next step is to learn how you can use those gifts for the purpose he has for you. On the following pages, you can learn about your spiritual gifts and find out more about the areas available to serve at Sojourn City Church in which you can best use your gifts. Let me give you an example. Let's say your number 1 score was the letter A. That's administration. That is a gift, a spiritual gift listed in the Bible. Here's a brief explanation. It says the gift of administration is the divine strength or ability to organize multiple tasks and groups of people to accomplish these tasks. Then what you're going to see is Bible references for these gifts. And in brackets and italic print, you're going to see A-Team, Kids Check-In, Sound and Media, Welcome Home, Growth Track, Takedown. These are all potential areas of ministry, volunteer ministry on our dream team in Sojourn City Church. So what I want you to do is to go back to the scores that you tallied up on the spiritual gifts assessment. Look for your top gift, maybe your top 2, maybe your top 3. Okay? Then you're going to match those letters up to those spiritual gifts. Maybe it's apostleship or craftsmanship or faith or healing and so on. And you can read a brief description. You can read a Bible reference, several Bible references for each gift, as well as potential areas of ministry on our dream team. So you should better understand what your gifts are and how they work, where you can find them in the Bible, and how they could point you toward your best fit in ministry. Go on, when you're done that, if you need to pause the recording here again, that's fine. Take your time. There's a lot of information to process here. You don't need to be in any hurry, okay? But when you're done with that, go on to page 14 where it says Dream Team Descriptions. I mentioned that when you look at each spiritual gift, you'll see a description, some Bible references, and then some Dream Team areas in brackets and italics. And so what we have now on pages 14 and 15 and 16 is each of those possible areas also with a brief description. So let's say again, if your spiritual gift, one of them is administration, we have an A-team, an administration team. Here's what they do. We have a brief explanation. It says this team utilizes their gifts of administration and organization to serve the church in administrative areas like data entry, mailer preparation, and more. You go on through all these areas of possible volunteer ministry. I will give you a heads up. Not all of these areas are currently active in our church, but as we launch new teams, as our church grows and expands in influence and impact, we will be developing new teams and people who have these gifts, these potential areas of service. When we begin to build those teams and choose leaders, we will come back to you and we will possibly shift you from the team that you've begun serving on into this new area that might be an even better fit for your gifts and your personality, if that's what you want. All right. So go on from there to page 16. Again, if you need to pause the recording, please take your time. I'm not in any hurry. We want to make sure you understand all these things. I know this is a lot of information to process, but we do want to talk about once you've got all this information, begin to put it together, where do we go from here? Well, there are 3 things you can do. One is you can attend step 3 at Growth Track. That makes a lot of sense. You've done step 1, you've done step 2. Now you go on to step 3. Normally we would say that's next Sunday, the 3rd Sunday of the month, is where we can talk about how you can develop your leadership. If you're watching this recording later on, then you can go straight from step 2 to step 3, and you can view that content as well. Don't forget to download the packet. It's fillable. You want to download it and do it on your device, or you can print it and fill it out by hand. We want you to keep a copy, either digitally or hard copy, of these packets for your reference for the future. Also, don't forget to download and or print the step 3 follow-up card. I'm going to refer back to the step 2 follow-up card in just a moment. So number 2, you can pray and ask God to strengthen the gifts and passions inside of you, your personality strengths, your spiritual gift strengths. We want you to make this a matter of prayer as you go forward. Also, I want to put another resource in your hand. You may have found a tab on our resource page on our website, sojourncity.com, that said SIPs, or Systems in Place packets. Every area of the Dream Team that is currently operational in the life of our church family. So not all the ones listed in your packet right here in step 2, but all the ones that are actually currently active in our church have a short packet. I'm talking 2 pages, 2.5 pages max of information that describe that team in more detail, what it is, why it exists, and how it operates, what the expectations are for team members, okay? And I want to show you one that I brought with me to show on my screen tonight. This is the Center Media Team's System in Place packet. We call them SIPs. Again, every team that's active has one, and if you need one, we want you to have one. So if you read through the descriptions of the Dream Team areas that align with your spiritual gifts that you discovered in this session tonight, then what you can do is you can go to our website, look up those packets, see which of the teams that are currently operational that fall into the categories of where your gifts are, and you can pick 1, you can pick 2, you can pick 3, download them, you can print them, read through them, and see, and begin to ask God, is this where you want me to serve? Is this the team that's right? Is this the team that's the right fit for me? And if so, as you go through step 3, we'll talk more about those teams, especially once you get to step 4, which is actually labeled Join the Dream Team. You'll hear from one of those lead team members, those ministry team leaders who are overseeing the active areas of Dream Team ministry, volunteer ministry in our church. And you can get more of a confirmation of saying, that's the direction I want to go. That's where I want to plug in. Or maybe you get more information and you say, you know what, that wasn't what I was thinking it was. So let me go to my next option. So maybe you have another System in Place packet. Maybe you have another Dream Team area of ministry that stood out to you. You thought, I'm interested in that. I want to learn more about that. That's what we want you to begin doing at this time, okay? So number 1, attend step 3 of Growth Track. 2, pray and ask God to strengthen the gifts and passions inside you. So then look up those System in Place packets on our website, download them, print them, read through them, whichever ones you think match up with your personality and your gifts. And then 3, ultimately, after you complete step 4, you will join the Dream Team, becoming a full-fledged member of our church family, and we'll begin to make a difference together as you serve in the area where God has hardwired you and gifted you to make a difference. It's so exciting. We can't wait for you to continue on this journey. Now that you've discovered your God-given gifts, continue the process of finding a team where you can use those strengths to make a difference in the lives of others. Again, you'll attend that orientation at step 4, join a team. Before we close our session tonight, let me just refer back to that step 2 follow-up card. You'll notice it looks very similar to the step 1 card that you filled out at the end of step 1. Your name, your contact information, whatever you're comfortable sharing. Again, it helps us get more connected to you over time so we can follow up with you and help you join the Dream Team. But there's a different action step at the bottom of step 2, whereas at the end of step 1, you indicated whether you were ready to join Sojourn City Church, our faith family, yet or not. Step 2, you'll notice that you are being asked to please circle 3 teams you are interested in. And there's all the teams that are listed in your packet for step 2, whether they are currently active in our church or not. I'll remind you that even though all these teams are not currently active, once they do become active, we want to point you in that direction. We want to invite you to consider joining that team as our Dream Team expands. I'll also point out that as you look at this list, there are some teams listed in regular font. There are some that are italicized. The ones that are italicized are the teams that are currently in operation. So you may want to focus on those because those are the ones that you can start serving as a part of once you complete Growth Track right away, right? So take your time, fill out your name, any contact information you're comfortable sharing, all right? And if you've shared all these details of your contact information in step 1, you don't have to fill it all out again, all right? But then go to that list of teams. Remember, the ones in regular font are not currently active, but we hope that they one day will be. The ones in italicized font are currently active, and once you complete Growth Track, you could join one of those teams right away. Circle up to 3 of those teams, and you're going to do the same thing with the step 2 card you did with the step 1 card. You're going to either, if it's filled out on your device, you're going to save it on your computer. You're going to email it directly to our administrative team coordinator. That's Kelly, Kelli, at sojourncity.com. Kelly with an I at sojourncity.com. If you printed it, you want to take a screenshot of it on your phone, email it to the same email address, Kelly with an I at sojourncity.com. She will follow up with you from there, and that will certify for us that you've completed step 1 and or step 2, that you're ready to go on to step 3, develop your leadership. As always, I cannot stress this enough. If you have any questions, this is not a live and in-person session as we normally host after our Sunday services every weekend, then please, if you have a question, don't hesitate to contact us at the Contact Us tab on the homepage of our website, sojourncity.com. Any question related to our church life or ministry, be happy to help you any way that we can. If you need more information, though I can't fathom after the end of step 2 you could possibly want any more information. It's almost information overload in this step. But if you do have any further details, don't hesitate to reach out. We will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Other than that, congratulations, you have completed step 2 of the growth track. If you already did step 1, you're halfway there, and it's all downhill from here. God bless you. We'll see you soon.